What up, Bomb First Family? Welcome back to another show. We got our boy Slice back with us. I told y'all we're gonna be bringing him in periodically and tell us some different LA stories. But this is a guy that have a lot of knowledge. Um, so yeah, we're about to jump right into it. We just want to wish you guys a happy New Year's and hope you all have a good and safe New Year's and hopefully 2022 be better. I want to push again, y'all. This variant that's out there right now, it's getting serious, y'all. So please, y'all, go and get vaccinated. I mean, I'm looking at I done been laid up. I can officially say that I laid in a bed for a year straight now. It's been over a year, but all of 2021, I was in a bed. So get vaccinated, please, y'all. But I'm still blessed to be here. But hey, John, we got our guest
Yep.
sliced on the story, and like I said, we got some stories we're gonna tell. We got a bunch of them, so we're gonna just do like a little short little video,
Okay.
and we're gonna tell another story. So, John, at the end of the last video we did with Slice, you asked a real, very interesting story that kind of went over my head,
Okay.
or a question,
Uh huh.
and your question was, do you remember what your question was?
Yeah. It was. Do you had you heard anything, or did you know anything about Dre starting a label with Bruce after he had already started Death Row and put the Chronic out or whatever? And then you quickly reminded me that you weren't there at the time, but I didn't know if you had ever heard about that happening.
Okay, so the question, my part of the question is no, never heard of it. Um, I don't want to call Slice a liar, so let's just hear his story. But I don't believe it, y'all. But let's see what Slice say, and maybe he can convince me. Welcome to Bomb First Slice.
What's good with it?
You the man?
How everybody doing? Bomb First Family, LA, Compton, Watts, South Central, Long Beach, the Valley, and all around town. New York, East Coast to the West Coast, North to the South. Blessings.
Yep,
So
yep.
what's up, Red? So you asking me, you basically question my integrity and my authenticity on Dr. Dre and Bruce Richardson's relationship. Let me just say this. Bruce wasn't just my friend, he was a brother to me. I went to
Okay.
John Muir with Bruce and Roy Summers. I went there with major players. I went to Mount Vernon first when LaRue and all them was over there, and ended up over at John Muir. So I'm just gonna give you the authentic truth. I'm not gonna cut a chase, a ad. I might have dates off, and my folks had already reached out to me and said, "Gee, you authentic with it, but it's really not your place or your platform because you don't be out there speaking like that." But I'm giving y'all some just to let you know that didn't rest with me the way that went down with my family. Bruce was my family. Bruce Richardson and everybody out there, but we called him Bird or BR. And answer to your question, him and Dre did have a record label. I'm gonna find out. I'm gonna try to get the paperwork, find out what it really was. There was a few guys that I came up with that had record labels. Like I said, Anti out the 50s, he had Outburst Records with Moke and Stuff, and Domino and Montel Jordan. But um, realize this, man, and listen to what I'm saying to everybody. People are grown now. We grown men. We grandfathers. We parents. I never had any kids. I never got married. But these gentlemen that I'm speaking on, I don't have a right to speak on them like that because I ain't reached out to them like that. And the integrity that we have as a family coming up in the sandbox, those dudes is like, gee, we got love for you, but how you moving out there? And I owe them the respect of the matter that if I am speaking on something, to have it in chronological order, to have my facts straight, have my facts right, because that's what people do. They fact check. Like somebody already reached out to Gangster, and Gangster already checked him. He said somebody asked him, well, did Terry Carter own World Class Auto? He said, yeah, he owned it, and my lowrider was in the front window. So that was squashed. But answer your question back to Dre And for info minds out there who don't know him, Bruce was on the equivalent of Harry O at the time. And Bruce was moving some things. Suge didn't have no money. Nobody at Death Row had no money. But
What
I
year are you
guess
talking about when you're saying that statement?
this is the early in the 90s when they did G Thing video. And if you, okay, so I'm going to give you this right here. If you go Google Let Me Ride video with Dr. Dre, that whole video was paid for by Bruce Richardson. If you look at the video was filmed at his car wash. That's on 52nd and Crenshaw. This ain't a slapback Chiefy D or nothing like that, but Bruce never had a car wash on 74th and Western. That was my little boy Craig, CJ. That was him and our Freeway Rick uncle. They had the paint detail body shop right there on Florence and Western, and next to it was 74th. That was little CJ's car wash. That wasn't Bruce. So that's just the
So you
correct.
telling me, you want to tell me that Interscope and Death Row had to have a street dude pay for a video shoot and not just
Uh,
use his location?
That's exactly what I'm gonna tell you. And you know why I'm gonna tell you that? Because that was at the car wash, and anybody that's from LA will tell you where that when you see Rage out there and she jumping a lowrider, I think that's a Rego convertible, all white. That's at the car wash. Absolutely I'm telling you that because street dudes ran it because record labels didn't trust rap music at the time. Rap was trying to break in. Even Don Cornelius didn't even want it on Soul Train. And you admitted it in the last interview when we spoke. Dudes had to go to street dudes to get things done and get money done. You guys did something at Chase. I guess it was a restaurant in Beverly Hills. And if you go back to that video, David Kenner, the attorney at the time, said, we couldn't have got this done without Harry O, Bo Bennett, whoop-de-wop, whoop-de-weep, whoop-de-whoop. And then they edit Bo's name out. I guess Bo said, look, man, I don't want nothing to do with that. They edited his name out. And then you go back, the name was edited out. But back then, the dudes that was running the street was the D-boys. It wasn't the record labels. Interscope didn't have nothing to do with the streets like that. To get something done, you had to get it done through the streets. Period. So back to Dre and Bruce. Like I said, they didn't have no money. Interscope hadn't inked the deal fully, or if they did, they wasn't getting no money from them. And Dre got money from Bruce and everybody around Dre. Bruce was feeding everybody because that's the kind of dude Bruce was. He didn't care who you was. If you was trying to get down and you had something, really going, he wasn't going to let you fall out there. He was going to look out for you and take care of you. And explain to me why, if he didn't have nothing to do with Dre, why that whole video was done at his car wash, everything, and he paid for all that. And I was there around that time.
You buy a location. You rent a location. People
No,
rent locations all the time.
that's not what went down. Bruce Richardson and Dr. Dre had a relationship and they had a label. I just ask Dr. Dre about it then. You ain't got to take my word. Ask him. If he's on it and he keep it 100, because somebody going to hear me speaking and they going to say, you know what? They're going to come and validate it. And then they're going to put it out there and they're going to put the real and give you all the information and the paperwork to it.
So now you telling me this is the fifth owner that then come out of the woodworks. So first we had DOC, we had Dick Griffey, we had Stereo, we had Suge, we had Dre.
I'm telling you the money guys. See, the guys you naming, they didn't have the money though. This dude was a millionaire. You naming dudes by namesake that was face famous. They was face famous, but they didn't have no pocket work. You had to have pocket work out here to be moving and grooving. And back then, anybody in the 80s know Bruce was running that. You got to realize.
Let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
Was it possible that Harry-O and Bruce have a major relationship?
Exactly.
Because I do. Okay.
Listen.
I do know that there was people that, such as like PJ and all of them, that gave money, allegedly gave money to help fund Death Row at the beginning. So you telling me that Bruce was one of the ones, the Harry-O broker to
excellent.
Okay.
Excellent question. You just answered your own question right there, because all the major players in the city was all linked up. So anybody you named that had money, it was all linked up. They wasn't at each other like that because they was all getting money together. They was controlling the community. They was making sure the car washes was in place, the hair salons was in place, and everybody was eating on the block. That's what the community back then, that's what we was doing. So all those major dudes that was major at the top, they was like considered CEOs of IBM or Xerox. They all knew each other and they all had a good relationship.
All right.
So you can go from Compton. Okay. You can go from Compton. He knew Bruce Richardson. He had a relationship with him, gangster. You can talk about Wayne Day, which is Honcho. He had a relationship with Bruce. He'll tell you that. And my thing is, I ain't reached out to these dudes like I should. I know them, but I don't speak on it until I talk to them because I'm authentic like they was. And they know I know the real. And they ain't going to get on there and say nothing different. But I do need to make a correction because I did mess up. And one of the OGs, real true gangster, reached out to me and said, G, fix that. Fix that. Because we know in the community, in the block and in L.A., I'm not talking for Compton, in L.A., we know Death Row had Bruce killed. And the situation with the world happened first. It all happened in 96. It didn't happen early in the 90s, like I said, so I got to make that correction. My big homie reached out to me and said, G, you authentic. And you giving it like it really happened, and we behind you with it, but fix them dates. So it happened in 96. The first situation happened when he whooped on Vivica Fox, husband, 6'9". That was at the World, and he had to get y'all up out of there because on the other side of that door, they would have came in and smashed. The smash would have went down because them was some real killers on the other side of the door. So Bruce saved y'all that night, and this is my take. So this is all me. This ain't nobody else.
That would have had to been made it 12 because that incident was definitely made it 12.
Let me just get this out. Let me get this out. It all happened in 96. This is my story. This is my take on it. This is how I feel.
And you redacted the 93 incident.
All that. Right. Yeah, it didn't happen in 93. Everything happened in 96. That's a redact. Yeah, I'm doing a redaction. Okay. And my big homie them, they respect me. They say, G, you got everything right. You solid. You solidified. You was there. We already know. So they're not questioning that. But let me redact them years. It all happened in 96 because the world situation happened first. And I'm going to tell you what happened. So the boy 6'9", I don't know his name, but he was married to Vivica Fox. I guess he thought he was muscling or whatever, but he got a drink at the bar. He didn't like the drink. The girl was like, okay, I'll fix it. Bruce said, oh, we're going to get you another one. And he got mad, I guess, said Bruce, because he thought Bruce was getting in his business, but Bruce was running it at that time. It wasn't no other promoters. Bruce was promoting that club.
No, I heard it was Felipe and
Felipe and them wasn't doing. They wouldn't. Come on, man. Everybody, you can pull anybody in and say who had that. Bruce had that. Bruce, I tell you what, you can grab T.K. Kirkland, the comedian, and say who had them clubs at that time. Was it Bruce or was it Felipe and them? I know Felipe and them. They wasn't like Bruce. Bruce had that. Bruce had the World and the Palladium. Just ask T.K. Kirkland. Anyway, let me finish. Let me get this out, man, because I got to fix it. I got to fix a few things. I got to fix this. Okay, so everything happened in 96. Scratch the earlier years. It happened in 96 because that's the year birth to the infamous Bruce Richardson met his demise, and that's my fam right there. Anyway, long story short, real true gangster. Everything about that dude was super authentic, man. He was a real one. And I'm still upset and hot about that one. That's why I'm speaking out. Anyway, 6'9" didn't like to drink. Bruce came over and said, man, I got you. Anything you want, I'm going to take care of y'all. It's on me tonight. He got to tripping or whatever, and then Bruce went over there and put some things on him. That's when y'all went over there and said, hold on a minute, man. They don't really know what's going on in L.A. He good. He from out of town, whoop, whoop. And y'all got to speaking for him, but he already got pieced up by Bruce. Now, I guess Suge was feeling some kind of way, and once y'all got ushered out of there, he felt like, okay, I don't know what's really going on, but I need to try to check dude, because he might have thought Bruce was stepping on his toes because he had Dre in a way where him and Dre was cool. I'm not saying Dre was like, I'm done with Death Row, I'm just solely with you, but him and Dre was cool, and Suge knew that. So anyway, y'all get ushered up out of there.
Dre, and just FYI, Dre was gone from the level by then. He was going to and started creating Aftermath by that time. So go ahead.
Okay. So anyway, y'all got safely escorted out of there because the boy fell for y'all that night. I mean,
okay,
Reggie, it's just what it is. You didn't put it to you. Let me put it to you like this: you ain't go out the same door you came in.
because I had the cars pulled around on La Cienega.
And why did
That's
you
what
have a car? Why?
because underneath the Beverly Center it was packed, and so the
Okay.
limos was parked over there. But
Case
anyway,
closed.
that's
Yeah.
debatable.
Yeah.
Okay,
Y'all got it. Y'all got ushered up out of there by that back door that was on La Cienega. Everybody
somebody
know that.
working at the club had to give us permission to leave out that door, so I
Right.
would be with you on that. Okay,
Okay. And that permission came from none other than Info Minds Bruce Richardson. Okay. That came from, he made that call. Anyway, so I believe it was a few days after that. And this is my take on it. Okay. Just hear me out because me and you spoke on this already.
yeah.
After that, it happened, it went down at Fridays where Suge, Bontree, and the third person, I don't know who that was. Some people say it was Danny Boy. I don't know. Anyway, they went in there and the situation went down as I said, exactly like that. The next night, Bruce ended up killed in his house. Now,
Okay.
I know
All right,
for
good.
I know for a fact nobody would have been able to get in there unless they knew him very, very well. My take on it, and this is my take, that the police killed Bruce. Yeah, I told you that. And that police came from Death Row. And they
Oh
can
my
be mad.
God.
They can be mad. You can be mad. You can debate. And they use silencers because I'm gonna tell you, back in the day, when you was on them blocks, any and every car had to be accounted for, and they had to be accounted for each house. You couldn't just pull up on nobody's block and just be visiting. You had to be known, you had to be identified, and you had to have some authority to come on the blocks because blocks was hot and people was moving things on them blocks. So they had to make sure you wasn't the police or you wasn't the enemy of the op. So each and every car had to be identified. You couldn't just pull up and park like that. Only people that could get away with that was either a detective car or a police car. And if they didn't
Oh,
use silencers, somebody would have heard the pop, pop, pop and would have came out because that block was surrounded. 65th between Vermont, all that whole area over there was surrounded with straight killers and gangsters. So they'd have heard that and came out, and they would have damn sure been on that house. And they had that whole house and that block surrounded. So that's just my take on it. And I told you who I think is the one that put it down because Bruce introduced me to that dude, and that dude did work at the time for Death Row Records. And I met him and Bruce and TK Kirkland at the Palladium one night. And that's just my take on that. So I just want to hold on. I just want to clear that up. It all went down in 96. And the situation at the World happened first. And then the situation at Fridays happened when Suge, he did get his ass whooped. And Buntree, he got his ass whooped. So he might have went back. You wasn't there, Reg. And I know when
no
you
one.
say you was on the team and it was your job to do the protection. So I don't know where the hit came from, but the hit definitely came from the Death Row camp because they was mad at Bruce after that. Because if I'm supposed to be this major nigga and this boy done whooped on this boy over here at the World, and then he done whooped on me and this other lieutenant I got with me, I need to do something about that. Period.
All right. Now
So
let's do some Q&A on this statement. And number one, who was arrested for this allegedly
I know where you're
murder?
going with that. I already know where you're going with that, but I'm not
Okay.
going to speak. I'm not going to speak on
Okay.
who was arrested
Can
because
I speak on it with you on the line? Or
I,
you can
I
be for it?
hold on. I can't neither verify or yay or nay it because I haven't spoke to them. But I know where you're going with that, and I know who you're gonna say. So my answer to any question about that is
Okay.
no.
I won't disrespect you and ask it or say it then out there. I don't want to put that
Because
out there.
that's family. All that is family.
Exactly. Okay. But I'm going to say this. I won't say who was arrested, but number two, and it wasn't no law enforcement person. I'll say that.
And he wound up dead, you know, the next day or something like that. That shit was weird.
So, all right. So y'all heard what Keepy D just said. And all I'm here to say is, if all of that is true, what our boy Slice just said, as far as the dates, The day of the Mother's Day event was May the 12th on a Sunday. Um, KVD said it was the next day, which would have been May the 13th. We know that's inaccurate because Bruce was killed on May the 29th, 1996, on 65th Street in between Bud Long, is all I'll say, in Vermont. So that's the date that our boy Bruce was killed. I'm not co-signing to any of Bruce's statements, so I don't want y'all saying that. I'm just putting out he wasn't killed the next day from the event of the world. He was actually killed about 15 to 16 days later on the 29th of May. But
Okay.
let's leave that there. Okay? The second thing I
Let me
want to
ask
say.
you real quick, Reggie. Let me just intervene real quick. Do you think it's
Okay.
possible? And I'm not, I wasn't around at that time, so I can't speak on it. But would it be feasible that if this did happen and the guy did get killed the night after the event, if that were the case, if Suge didn't have anything to do with it, but people started to speculate that he did, would he own that up? Would he play into that?
Well, Suge always denied. Investigators that came to try to speak with Suge regarding this incident,
Hmm.
his name has been involved and brought up in this incident around L.A. from the day that it happened.
Right.
And so this is not any news to any people
Yeah.
out here in Los Angeles. Um,
Let
so
me just say, let me interject this. That's John on the phone, right?
Yes.
yes, sir.
John, let me just say this. When
Okay.
you pull up the incident and you put Bruce Richardson name up, guess who information come up under it?
Suge.
Shucks.
Yep.
Exact. Okay, so case closed on that. Let's move on.
Well, that's
I
internet.
mean, let's move on because it's like
Okay.
this. It's like, let me just say this. Let me say this. I got to send an apology out to the Davis family, KVD, his wife and her sisters and everything, because I have no permission to use their information. I have no permission to speak on them. They didn't give me that authority. I'm good with them, and that's that on that situation. Um, people are grown. People have families. People have grandbabies, and they are far removed from this street stuff. And I'm not, and they know I'm not an internet gang banger. I'm not an internet speaker or talker. I can do my own platform, but I was just trying to clear something up about my folks, which was BR, Bert, Bruce Richardson,
And
because
that's why we gave you the platform.
and there it is there. But I gotta apologize for speaking on KVD because to me, to be honest with you, that's a real one right there, Reg. And whatever situation you and him have, I think y'all should just sit down man to man and squash that because first of all, we all out here,
He
we got to eat
was
right.
a real
Let
one.
me just say
He
this.
was a he
Let me
was
say
a
this.
real one.
Let me say this, Reg. Come on, man. Let me say this.
Okay.
First of all, that's Compton business. I'm from LA, so I can't speak on that. But eat right, think right, live right. We
Okay.
got to set a platform out here for the young ones. See, the young ones is doing it their way because they don't have nobody giving them the correct leadership or direction and guidance. And they look up to you and they look up to Big Keith. So if you guys can put it together and bring some positivity and not negativity, that's a plus for our generation, especially our
Yeah.
youth coming up.
But the
That's all
best
I'm
the best
saying.
thing for us is to stay away from each other. And that's the best
Okay.
thing.
Okay. Well, I'm,
Okay.
I'm out of that. I apologize to
Yeah.
the Davis family. Let's move on to the next subject.
Okay. Same subject, but different topic on the subject. I just gotta put it out there because a lot of people don't know, and I gotta put out the real on that particular investigation. And like I said, we won't speak on no names. Out of respect to you, and you've been on the platform and all of that. But he was in a gated community. He was behind a gate, and we all know, and I think you would even suggest that the person that was able to get inside of Bruce's house had to know him. Had to know him if it was a police officer, if it was anyone, because he went to the door, left his gun on the countertop, and his work on the countertop. Now, he wouldn't have felt that comfortable doing all of those things at his place of residence if it was somebody coming to do a home invasion. It's all I want to put out there. That's all we're going to say on that subject. I know you're not confirming or denying any of that, and
And
that's
well,
just what I.
I'm gonna say this: it wasn't no home invasion. We know it wasn't no home invasion,
Okay,
but it was
that's all.
somebody he was comfortable with. Let me just say that, and I'm gonna leave it
Okay,
right there
we'll
because
go.
we
Okay.
still warm about that situation, and we still got our eyes on a particular individual.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah,
that's what it is.
and that's all I'm here to defend him to really believe that he had nothing to do with that incident. I truly believe that.
So, Reg, let
And,
me ask you a
yeah.
question: who can get away with a murder and cover it up at the same time, and it won't be no deep investigation? And the reason I'm asking you this, listen why I'm asking you this. Because if it's a street nigga or anything of the source, they're gonna get to talking, and that homicide, that'll be like figured out in 2-3 days, especially in the neighborhood. Just like it's
Yeah.
not a mystery what happened to Tupac. It's not a mystery what happened to Biggie. It's not a mystery what happened to dudes when it happened in the streets. If it's an op or if it's somebody close. But
What is your belief on those two subjects?
huh?
What's your belief on those two subjects? Just so we can have the record clear.
I believe what it is, what's out there. I'm not getting ready to write the story. I'm not getting ready
Okay.
to create the
Well,
wheel
you
that's done.
got two stories out there. Some got the police out there. Some got Keefe D out there for and what he admitted to for the Tupac incident, and then some have another person on the Biggie thing. So it's some different stories out there. So that's I was just wondering which one do you believe. But if you don't want to say which of those three you believe, I
Bro,
respect that.
it's all everything is all said and done. They know what it is. Everybody know what it is. That's done.
I agree with you on that. I hope we're saying the same thing.
Let me just say this. I wasn't there. No, I wasn't
me,
there. I wasn't
me
there.
either.
I don't know the players in the situation. So you asking me something I don't know. That's a guessing game. I'm
Yeah.
going with the average. I'm not about to roll the dice and chase the dice. It is what it is, man.
I guess you don't believe Keefe D story then.
Oh no. I definitely believe his story. He's
Okay.
authentic.
That's all I want to hear. That's all I
He's
want to hear.
yeah. I definitely believe. Why would he make that up?
Well, some would say to get some freedom. To trick him. That's what some would say. If that's what he thought. Now my thing would be if LAPD was trying to solve a LA murder, why would he come out to a Vegas murder? I'm just telling you what some would say. But I wholeheartedly believe Keefe D is telling the truth on that incident.
Man, the dude is a real gangster, man, and he gave it to you like a
I
real gangster would.
all I call him a money man. I know I don't take that from him. In the '90s he was in my mind he was up there. He was up there and getting money. And that's all that really matters, really, in my opinion, because you gave a
At the end
good
of the day, that's what it's
explanation.
about.
Yeah,
Taking care of
exactly.
your family and getting that pocket right. You have to be pocket ready.
Exactly. Exactly. So, yeah. Well, cool. Well, we gave you another edition of Mr. Slice, and hopefully, we'll find something else, some other LA politics. We'll be able to talk about with him. Like I said, I believe everything. I like his knowledge of the LA and the city and the people that's involved on the level of, like I said, a Cal Mack, a Melly Mel, my boy Alex from the Street TV gangs expert. He's on those guys' levels, in my opinion, on the street knowledge. And so maybe that's what we call it, bomb first street knowledge. But anyway, that's another episode with our boy Slice, and
Let
hope
me
y'all
just say,
appreciate it.
let me chime in real quick, Reg. I got my book I'm working on right now. It should be out in March or April. It's Real City G's, and it's
Okay,
gonna have everything in there. I mean everything,
John, if you can put up that logo right quick, so we can
everything,
It's already up
we
there.
can start
It's going to
recognizing
be up
this
there the
logo.
whole time. Yep.
everything.
Gotcha.
That right there, that's gonna be the book. That's gonna contain everything.
Once again, LA, YouTube family. Y'all get to know this brother Slice, and we can't wait to get his book so we can get some of that first-hand knowledge. Bomb First Family, have a happy New Year's. John, close out your show for 2021.
Yep. Well, thank you guys, Reggie. Thank you for coming on. Slice, we always
Yes, sir.
appreciate you. Definitely
Yes,
appreciate
sir.
you. And even if let's say we don't agree on everything, we appreciate the knowledge and we appreciate you taking the time to give us the insight that you have. So,
Yes,
thank.
sir. I mean, we're gonna agree to disagree because if
Of
you're
course.
not there, here's the thing. Let me just say this, and this ain't a shot at nobody. LA business is LA business. Compton business is Compton business. Watts business is Watts business. The Valley business, two P's and a B, that's their business. OVGC, Original Valley Gangsters, that's their business. Everybody had their own business. I was just fortunate enough to try to be moving around in everybody's business.
Gotcha.
But that's going to be in the book too. So I know some major players, they know me. We like family. They embrace me. They made sure I stayed eating, I stayed fresh, and I stayed rolling in something real, real nice, nice. So I look at them as family. And that's why I can't out no names because one OG just reached out to me and said, man, you authentic. You ain't no internet gang banger. You don't do that. That ain't you. You ain't affiliated like that. Sign off and do your book and fall back.
Mm.
And that's what he gave me. So,
Gotcha.
but I appreciate you, John. You know I do. I appreciate you, Reg. You know, this ain't no shot on you. But see, Reg, I wanted to ask you a question, man. It's on my mind, but I don't want you to get mad at me.
Go ahead.
But I want to ask you this because I want you to clear the air because it's going to be part of my book, but it's not going to be all the way in my book. But this is something that was dropped off to me.
Reggie's always
Now,
been an open book, so I think I don't think you have to worry about him getting mad.
okay. So what they saying is that you orchestrated a lot of hits over there at Death Row for Death Row. Hold on, let me finish the story. You orchestrated a lot of hits, and no hit went down without your knowledge and information because you knew how to put it together because you was law enforcement. But then they said you had knocked off. They say you good with the boy Mob James because you knocked off his brother. You put him in your
Whoa,
car and you gave him
whoa.
a car. Hold on. You gave him a car with no gas in it and told him to go to the gas station. And when he went to the gas station, he got knocked off. And I said, no, I don't
Yeah.
believe that. But I did tell him I would ask you about that.
Okay. Well, number one, he was driving that car around for at least 6 months. That car was given to him. I didn't drive it. Only time I ever drove the car was when I dropped it off to him. Probably in about, Suge came home in 2001 of August. He probably got it in September of August. Uh, he was killed in it in April of 2002. I wasn't even messing with them. I was running a record company called American Music in Downey, California, a group called the Relatives. Wasn't even messing with any of the homies, but me and Bob Gotti uh, was over at another music company doing our things with a group called the Relatives. So there goes that particular rumor. Um, Buntry and everybody knows who has something to do. Not Buntry. James and them all know who has something to do with the death of Buntry. There's rumors that's always out there, um, but all I can say is they're there. I don't have anything to do with any of that, and if so, I can think of a lot of people that I'll be orchestrating some stuff on if I was that dude right now, because there's some dudes that's out there that's real foul right now.
Hey, man, I appreciate you taking that question, man, because I didn't even want to ask you about it. I just told them, man. I wasn't going to even ask you about that, Red. For real, I wasn't.
Hey, bro, I'm open book. I
Like I said, that's
I
Compton business,
respond to
man.
anything
That's Compton business.
now.
Everybody got their own business. LA got their business. So that's what I'm explaining it to you like that. Inglewood in the house was had in Inglewood. Inglewood got their business. So when something happened in LA and then somebody from Compton say, "Oh no, it went this way." Chances are the LA car got the best hand on what goes on in LA.
That's why you're here. You
follow what I'm
reached out
saying?
to
Now
me.
you follow what I'm saying?
I got you, and that's why
Okay.
I allow people to wonder. People gonna wonder why are we even dealing with each other? Why are we even talking with each other? Because you reached out to me, and you wanted to set the record straight, and I allowed it. John allowed us to do it, and so that's why we're here.
Right. Hey man, y'all be safe. Eat right, think right, live right.
Peace, brother.
I'm out.